Do you remember RuneScape, the free browser-based MMO from when you were a kid? If yes, congratulations, you're a millennial like me and this is a reminder to take your once-a-day vitamin and keep an eye on that back pain. Like the innocence of my youth, I thought that RuneScape had fizzled out, or at least plateaued in popularity. Imagine my shock when the game that defined my youth was on the front page of Steam with what I thought was an expansion called Dragonwilds. Having never even thought about RuneScape since I quit about 2 years ago, I clicked it only to be horrified that Dragonwilds is, in fact, not an expansion or overhaul of the MMO. It is a crafting survival game that is early access. Oh boy, here we go. After I stopped questioning where Jagex, the developer, actually got the money to make a whole new game, I went ahead and got the game and immediately jumped into the character creator. In order to date myself, I give the creature on my screen an appropriate username and entered, wherever this is. The first task of my newly acquired existence is to go get a drink of water. Run on over to any pond and... Wait, that only gathered one. Let me try... I found out that you have to gather water manually, once every tap of the key. Little did I know at the time, such a little missing quality of life feature would set the tone for the entirety of my time with Dragonwilds, but we'll put a pin in that for later. Now normally I tend to speak of the positives of a game I play, and Dragonwilds is no different. For games such as this, I try to seek out and use magic more often than not. While any bozo could swing a sword or shoot a bow, magic has always hit a little bit different, or at least I hope it does. Most games restrain their magic usage to just fart clouds and confetti, but thanks Serene, Dragonwilds actually has magic that feels magical. I never understood why an imaginary concept like magic lacks the imagination to make it fun. Dragonwilds is on the right track to make magic feel good. Having the ability to cast spells that are dumb but useful is always just downright fun. Take for example being able to super jump up a cliff face to turn a tree into a pile of bones, then turn the bones to peaches. Dragonwilds completely understands that magic is supposed to be magical, and I would imagine that as the game is developed, magic will be made even more engaging. And that's all of the good I can say about Dragonwilds. I'm serious. That first 15 minutes of running around after creating my character was near perfection. I've been a RuneScape player for a long time, and seeing RuneScape in a new format looking like this made me feel like a kid again. Those opening moments where I was running around doing nothing in particular felt as if I had discovered RuneScape all over again. Running around and seeing non-player characters I was familiar with, like Vanica, the combat trainer from Tutorial Island, or the wise old man who broke into the Draenor village bank to steal a party hat. Yes, that is real lore from the MMO. Had me feeling relieved from the horrors of real life as I was immersing myself in the nostalgia of a game series I've been a part of for over 20 years. As most good things tend to go, however, the euphoria I felt faded quickly. The more I played, the more I progressed through the unique zones such as Forest, Blighttown, and, this hellscape. And the more I defeated unique enemies like Goblin, Wolf, and Wolf but Green, Dragonwilds began to suck the life out of me. And I get it. Dragonwilds' early access content will change, and even as I type up the review for the game now, the content available now will not be the same content others will have access to. But when comparing to other crafting survival games released relatively around this time, Dragonwilds isn't even early access. Hold on, let me take a little water break. I've been kind of talking a bit here. Oh man, I needed that. Alright. In fact, there's a lot of things that aren't in Dragonwilds that really should be there. I'm not even talking about the lack of content, even though that is a very big problem right now. Nor am I talking about the balancing issues, but by God, I wish I would, because these direwolves right here were beginning to feel like Princess the Family Dog, and brother, I was beginning to feel like an unattended, vulnerable child. No, when I mean there's things missing, I mean bare-bone necessities like graphics options and quality of life features. Let me get that pinned clip back. Hold on, let me... Yep, about right there. Beautiful. Considering hydration is critical in Dragonwilds, you will be visiting water sources a lot. You'll be getting water a lot. And since there's no method to gather more than one at a time, you get to do the tried and true method of finger blasting your keyboard's E key. Now, I'd like to remind everyone that gathering water is only one small issue in a deluge of problems. Other problems include crafting benches don't draw from nearby storage areas, crafting will continue with whatever items are left over, and use up resources you don't want used. Any fuel left over in crafting stations will disappear after crafting finishes. There are no world options. There's so many gameplay issues in Dragonwilds that have been solved like 15 years ago. Like, hey, did I mention that fuel left in a crafting station will just burn out as soon as crafting is done? Minecraft figured out how not to do that in 2009. I mean, for God's sake, they couldn't even implement visual settings correctly. You have one option that you can manipulate, which is the visual quality of the game, and your choices are yes or no. I hope you enjoy Bloom because the game sure thinks you do. Dragonwilds doesn't even feel like RuneScape. Will it be hard to explain what RuneScape is supposed to feel like? Yes. Will I try anyway? Yes. Sometimes, when a game series is adapted into a different format or even a different form of media, things need to be changed to fit into the new format. This is a normal thing and has to happen. Sometimes. However, there's always a risk that an adaptation goes too far and begins carving away at what made the source material unique. Dragonwilds has sacrificed too much of what RuneScape is known for. The only thing that kept reminding me I was nominally playing a RuneScape game was that I had a rune count on my screen while casting magic. There's no memorable items or ideas or events from the MMO incorporated into Dragonwilds to act as a bridge between the games. Yeah, there's a handful of things like the Ghost Speak amulet that can be found, but I want you to take a step back. Take a breath and just watch. I'll turn off the music for a moment and we can just focus on this moment. Does this look like RuneScape? Some of the core components that are RuneScape aren't implemented at launch. For example, RuneScape has what is called the combat triangle, composed of 3 classes: melee, ranged, and magic. The triangle part refers to generally what is strong and weak against something. Dragonwilds does not feature this trichotomy, instead making armor more generic with set bonuses, and ranged armor being changed into stealth armor for some reason. Dragonwilds didn't even launch with ranged or magic skill trees. Arguably a quintessential part of RuneScape identity just isn't implemented. It quite literally requires defeating the dragon at the end of the current content to unlock magic, which, big surprise, isn't even an unlock. It just gives you experience and actually adds it to your skill tree where you can click it and oh, guess what, the skill isn't actually in the game. I mean, the game feels more like RuneScape as a mod for Valheim, which Dragonwilds is clearly very inspired by it and has taken many gameplay features from it, which, hey, good job Jagex, you're right on time for that one. I don't want to sound overly cynical about the future of Dragonwilds. I never want to hope a game fails. I want to see Dragonwilds grow into a good game. However, I don't trust the developer to handle Dragonwilds well, because the developers are Jagex. Now, Jagex has an impressive history of managing to find every way to get in a fight with themselves, and losing. This is the same company that bombed their original concept of RuneScape so bad, they relaunched a version of the game from 2007 that maintains something like 8 times the amount of players as retail. This is also the same company that thought that people would want to pay $12.50 to watch ads during their gameplay, and this is also the same company that thought doubling monthly subscription fees in exchange for enhanced player support would go over well. And now they're making Dragonwilds. I'm actually surprised how well Dragonwilds is being received in the RuneScape community. Normally, a conversation about RuneScape usually goes something like, hey, Jagex is actively trying to sabotage the game with this update. And the response is, yeah, I know. The final thought I want to share, completely separate from my review of the game, is something I don't really like doing when it comes to talking about a game, and that is saying that a game should be a different type of game. I don't ever like making that type of suggestion because I could easily suggest every game I don't like be instead a visual novel dating game. Wink wink, nudge nudge. But as I was running around fighting and dodge rolling, I kept asking myself, why didn't they just make this an action RPG? They already allow up to 4 players. I could easily team up with 3 of my other geriatrics from the retirement home and get to playing. And Dragonwilds is kinda there. Kind of. They just decided to ruin my dream by tacking this shit on. It leaves me thinking, was making Dragonwilds a survival crafting game really the best method to tell a new story? Was making Dragonwilds a survival crafting game the better method to bring new players into the RuneScape franchise? Anyways, my throat is parched. Daddy needs a little pick-me-up. It's very hard to look into the future to see how the game will be in a couple of years from now. Will it be fine? Yeah, sure, probably. But at the moment, Dragonwilds isn't just early access, it's legitimately bare bones. Do not buy this until it's in a state that is acceptable to you, because any early access game can cease development at any time and leave you high and dry. Actually, that's poor phrasing. There's nothing dry about this game after how much water I had to gather for the playthrough. The game's not even really out and it feels like wasted potential. RuneScape is a beloved game that has a lot of deep lore attached to it and has unique gameplay features. And Dragonwilds has decided the best way to express that potential and years of source material is with a crafting survival game, where you find all the lore by reading some shitty notebook on a rock. It's sad that Jagex thought this was the best state of release they could put forward to entice players. An incomplete mess with big promises of big ideas. I get early access games have to start from somewhere, but usually other games similar to Dragonwilds start with more than one boss that they're asking $30 for you to fight. Overall, I'd give RuneScape Dragonwilds, and I'm not mad, I'm disappointed, out of 10. Take it easy.